Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of ClassyNerdTalk. I am your host, Sarah Berculator. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about the show that is up here right now. It is called House of Cards. It's a Netflix original show. It stars Kevin Spacey, Robin Wright, and a couple other people that I've seen that have starred in the new series Westworld. This is a show that deals with Kevin Spacey is the whip of the House of Representatives or the Congress. I don't remember the Senate. I don't remember. The Congress is the Senate and House of Representatives. But he is the person that whips the votes. So, like, if they need a bill passed, they go to him, and he's like, "Oh, here, I'll give you this and give you that, and then you'll give us your vote." But it's actually a show about Frank Underwood and his rise to power. You can kind of tell with all the pictures around that he's like a very powerful man. Especially the poster I got here up here where he's like grabbing the thing and he's bleeding. It represents the show so much. It's a heavy political drama. It's not true. It's some of the stuff that probably could go on in the White House and on Congress and the Senate. So it's a good show. It's very highly, drama. I give it a rating of like, it's violent language and some sexual stuff. So if you don't want your kids around that, I highly don't recommend watching it around them. Robin Wright, if you don't know who Robin Wright is, she plays Claire Underwood in this. Robin Wright did, she was Jenny in Forrest Gump. If you haven't watched Forrest Gump, you've been sitting under a rock for the last 20 years. So, hate to burst your bubble, but you should jump on that right now. It kind of is like Frank Underwood, like backstabbing people the whole time and then just using them for what he needs to become, more powerful in the United States. So, it's a pretty good show. I liked it. It's got about 4 seasons on Netflix. It's an original show. We're waiting on for the 5th season. But while we wait, the first 4 seasons is probably the best, show on Netflix, I would have to say, next to like Daredevil and Luke Cage and all them. I would have to say House of Cards is one of them that I just kept watching. It's very intelligent. Kevin Spacey does a lot of fourth wall breaks. If you don't know what fourth wall breaks is when he like looks at the camera and he's like, "You didn't know that, did you?" And kind of gives us information from his head that no other character would know. So it's pretty cool. I'm not going to spoil it anymore, but if you're looking for heavy drama or like a good series to watch, I highly recommend House of Cards. Okay, so moving on to our second show that I'm going to talk about. Okay, I have to put this on here because I'm a huge fan. Okay, so if you're just bored and you're like, I want to watch something funny but interesting at the same time, I highly recommend Futurama. Futurama was a cartoon that was made by Matt Groening. Matt Groening did films like, he did the films like Simpsons, but his biggest, achievement is The Simpsons. Well, he decided to move on to another show, and he decided to make this show called Futurama, and it's about a couple of characters. It's always like character around. Okay, so you have Fry, which is the orange hair guy. We have Leela, the purple hair. We have Bender, the robot, one of my favorite characters. Dr. Zoidberg, that's another huge favorite character. Professor, and Amy, Hermes, and a couple other more people. There's just a whole bunch of characters in the show. It's kind of exactly like The Simpsons with that. But I will say that this is like really funny because like this is one of those shows where like I sit down and I'll watch like these seasons all the time. I think I'm on the 8th watch around of this season. Like these seasons, there's like 10 seasons and they're all on Netflix. So like if you're looking for a good show, highly recommend it. Kind of like a PG-14 rating. There is some language, violence, and some sexual things. But it's stuff that you see on normal television anyway, so I don't think it's that big of like a rating like House of Cards is. House of Cards can get away with a lot of things, especially the nudity part. There's really no nudity in Futurama. It's just it's kind of like ABC nudity where they put like, like a towel over them. They're like, oh, Fry, why don't you come in here and bathe us? Like, and he's like, no, I'm busy like playing my ping pong game. You women are crazy. Kind of humor. So if you're looking for a good show, it's an anime show. But I'm gonna run you through a little bit of, not spoiling it. But what happens is Fry is from the year 1999, about to turn 2000, and what happens is um, he's a delivery boy for a pizza place, and he decides that he needs to deliver this pizza. Well, the pizza that gets delivered is from a cryogenical like freeze unit, and he ends up getting frozen for like 1,000 years, and then he wakes up in the future New York, and that's how you become this huge Futurama. And then he joins a group of delivery people called the Planet Express, and you just see all these wacky, goofy characters. But every episode is like an adventure, like a different planet or a different story. They really don't touch base on their stories. But I will say, like, this show, why I like it so much is because some of the stories in it, I've watched it so many times that I still like it. Like, I keep watching it. I'm watching it through it right now, and I'm like on season 6, episode 8, I think, something like that. Um, but if you do watch it, I highly recommend. There's a lot of like tearjerker episodes, and there's some ones where it's just tears running down because you're laughing so hard. Um, but I'm just saying tearjerker because if you watch the Fry Dog episode, you'll know what I'm talking about. Yeah. So, if you're looking for something, in the cartoon genre that's like funny, I highly recommend Futurama. So moving on to our next thing, we're gonna do what's on Netflix movies. Okay, so a couple of you were like, "Hey man, you should watch a couple of these movies, that we talked about, and do a review." And I decided to do a review. So I have 4 movies that were based on like the people that asked me to watch these films. The first film off to the top left is called Look Who's Back. Look Who's Back is a foreign film, so it's a German foreign film. So if you don't like foreign films and you don't like reading subtitles, not a movie for you. But I really liked Look Who's Back. It's a comedy about where Hitler comes from, if he survived, and actually he wakes up in the future of like 2014, and it's just a comedy about him trying to fit in and trying to like unite Germany again to be like his Third Reich. So it's really funny, and the dog part is like the best part of the whole movie. So if you can make it to the dog part, you've watched most of the best parts of the movie. Um, but I'd have to get a rating. It's rated R, for a reason. There's violence and there's some sexual things and there's cursing. But if you can't understand it, I don't think it's that big of a deal, especially with your kids. If they don't know German, then more power to you, right? Okay, so the next film, a lot of people, like 2 people told me, like, dude, it's really good. You need to watch it. But, I kind of was like, I really don't want to watch this, because the whole premise around the whole premise around Spotlight is it's based on a true story about what happened after the 9/11 attacks. There was some articles that leaked out from the Boston Globe about priests that were molesting children, and it's been going on for like years on end. Well, this movie is about those people in the Spotlight group that wrote about it, and it's well directed, well written. You got some star roles here, big powerhouse cast. You got Mark Ruffalo, he played the Hulk. Michael Keaton played Batman in like other various like movies. Rachel McAdams, she did like Red Eye, and she did Sherlock Holmes. So she's a really good actress. And some of the people that I've never seen before, they were really good. This is a really like well-rounded movie. So if you're looking for like a drama, but you're looking for something that's more informative and it's kind of just really heavy drama based, highly recommend Spotlight. And if it won an award, it deserves it completely. So the next movie is Bronson. Bronson is, I think it's a true story. I don't get me wrong completely. I haven't looked it up, but I am going to after this video. But it stars Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy did like films like Inception. He was Bane in Batman. He's just done a whole bunch of films. Tom Hardy's a really, really good actor, in my opinion. He does well in everything he touches. Well, he's in this movie about the longest running prisoner in London, and his name is Bronson. But it's not his real name. That's the name he took, was Charles Bronson. He also was going to try to take Charlton Heston in it. But it's a story about him just fighting. Like, it's a fighting movie about, like, he just likes to beat the crap out of people for no reason. But then later on he gets into like art and stuff, and they kind of make it like this dramatic thing where like part of the movie is like he's on a stage and he's talking to the audience about, he's got like face paint on, he's like, the world is perfect, and I'm gonna punch it in the face. So it's a comedy too. So if you're into British comedy, and sometimes it's just very humorous. There's a part where like he kidnaps a library prison guard just so he could fight the guards. So he like hides like this. He puts like tinfoil with like a whole bunch of oil, or I think it was like lard from like cooking, and he got naked, and he's like, spoiler alert, there is sexual and violence and language. And he rubs it all over himself and yells at the guard, and he's like, rub it on my butt, and then like he goes to rub it on his butt, and he's like, not my butt cheeks, you're gay, and he's like cursing this whole time. You're like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. But don't that let you steer away. He just wanted to beat the crap out of those people. So I give Bronson it's a decent movie. I would highly recommend, if you're looking for something that's like, I want something change of pace, Bronson's the movie for you. So let's divert our attention back over to the left. Barton and Fink. This is the one with George Otero going like this. He has a mosquito on his head. There's a whole purpose with that. Don't ask me, because when I first saw it, I was like, what the heck is going on with that mosquito? And look at him. He's like, I saw a rat. But really what it is it's got John Turturro. He played in films like Mr. Deeds, who's the butler, and he also played in like Jesus and The Big Lebowski and a whole bunch of other films, a lot of Adam Sandler films, and John Goodman. And John Goodman's in this film, highly huge actor. John Goodman played in like 10 Cloverfield Lane and Oh Brother Where Art Thou and Red State. This is kind of a mix, like his character is kind of a mix of between 10 Cloverfield Lane and like a detective in a way, or like a nice guy. I'm not going to ruin it for you because it's a huge spoiler at the end. You come to find out Barton is a writer for like a screenwriter for like a cruise or something. And he's so good that someone decides, hey, he should make a movie. So they give him like this part of this wrestler film. And he falls in love with a girl like later on that's like part of this writer that another writer that's really good in Hollywood, and he's trying to get advice from. And they put him up in this like really crappy hotel. And it's got Steve Buscemi in it as like the door hop guy. And he's like, Steve Buscemi was in films like Mr. Deeds. He was the crazy eye guy, and he was also in Boardwalk Empire. Great show, by the way. I'll bring that up later on my HBO series thing. Also too, this hotel's just crap. Like, the wallpaper's falling off the wall. It's sweating. People are having sex upstairs, and but John Goodman is John Turturro's neighbor, and John Turturro, Barton, is trying to write this, and he can't. He's having like a huge block, and John Goodman's like, that insurance salesman that's like coming over, and he's like, hey man, like, I'm sorry that I'm making them such a racket, and I'm sorry for this, and blah 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 blah. And they become friends. They make like a friendship of it. But then at the end of the movie, close towards like the end, you learn a lot about the two characters and like how crazy it gets. There's a huge twist. So Barton and Fink, I would say it's a rated R. I think it is violence, sex, and language. So if you're looking for a film that's like kind of a twisted kind of film, but actually pretty funny sometimes, but it's kind of drama, but it's also very intriguing just to watch these characters develop on the screen, especially John Goodman. John Goodman's really good at anything he touches. I've never seen really a bad film of his. Maybe I've never watched it. If you've seen that bad film, you should put it down in the comments, and I will totally watch it, and I will do a review on it. All right, so back over here, we're gonna go to Animal House. Animal House is one of the classic films ever. Why it's a classic in my heart is because it's the first rated R movie I've ever watched. My dad's a huge fan of John Belushi, and my brothers are too. Um, but we used to. This was a movie that, like, when my parents would go upstairs to bed, we like sneak out. We're like, let's put this movie in the VHS, and boobies. So it's got a place in my heart. But what it's about is John Belushi plays a character that's part of this Delta House college thing, and they're like called the rumpiest, rowdiest, alpha college place around Delta, and these two kids are trying to get in it, but John Belushi plays that kind of comedy that he's always played, where he's that kind of guy. Let me describe a scene in the movie. So these two guys just got kicked out of this one party because, they're being pretty much stereotyped because how they are. They're nerdy, and the preppy kids don't really want them. Here, I'm going to move this up just a little bit. Okay. So what happens is they decide to, go to this Delta house because one of their brothers was like a, alumni from that frat party, from that frat Delta house guy or whatever. And John Belushi's out front, and he's like the bodyguard, and he's just drunk. He's drunk as a skunk, and he's like holding his beer like this, and he's taking a whiz. And these two kids come out, and they're like, "Is this the Delta house?" And he's pissing, like in mid piss, he just whips around and he pisses all over these kids, like, just casually. And he goes like this. He goes, "Yep, this is it. You got it. Come on in." So that's the kind of comedy. It's John Belushi's like greatest film, I think, in my opinion. One of his greatest films next to Blues Brothers. So if you're looking up for like a really, really funny comedy, I really recommend Animal House. So the last film we're going to talk about is called The Legend of Beggar Vance. It stars Matt Damon, Will Smith, and I don't know that girl that's on the front. I think her name's Charlize Theron. I know that actress's name, but I'm really bad at that actress. I'm not a lot of actresses fans that I really like. There's a couple of them, but they're good. Any actress that can sit on film and, play with those big boys, like, she's a good character. I mean, she's a good actor, that's what they do. Okay. So Matt Damon starred in films like Good Will Hunting and Saving Private Ryan. Will Smith, he's been in almost every single film, to Suicide Squad, to Pursuit of Happiness, 7 Pounds. There's a whole bunch of crap that he's been in. Hitched. Yeah, oh gosh. The Kevin James movie. Throw it away. Okay, so what it's about is, and John Lemon is in this. John Lemon was a person back in the 90s that everyone loved. He was in Grumpier Old Men, and I forget the boat movie that he was in together with him. But he plays the caddy, and at the beginning he has a heart attack, and he goes back and tells a story about when he was a kid, and there was this guy named Beggar Vance, and Beggar Vance, well, they called him that, but Beggar Vance was actually Will Smith. Will Smith was a beggar. That's what they call their golf caddies. Like, it's a golf caddy that carries around, his bags of golf clubs. And Matt Damon is like a washed up, golfer, and he's trying to get back in, the scene, and he wants to, beat a record or something. I forget. It's been a while since I watched it, but I saw it on Netflix, and it's like, wow, that's a good film to review. But what happens is, Will Smith trains him to become a golfer, and it's told in the eyes of John Lemon's little boy character about Will Smith and everything going on, and him trying to achieve Matt Damon's goals as being one of the best golfers of all time. Very highly drama movie, very inspirational movie. There's a lot of movies that are inspirational, Forrest Gump is a huge inspirational movie. Just there's a whole bunch of movies out there that are inspirational movies. And the thing is Will Smith pushes Matt Damon to the edge, and they have a fight sooner or later. I'm pretty sure, I forget. But it's pretty good that I remember. I'm going to go back and watch it again because, I saw it on Netflix. I was like, you know what? I haven't watched that in a long time. The other films I've watched recently, except for Animal House. Animal House, I've watched that so many times that I just don't care anymore. I'll watch it whenever I feel like it, and it's funny. It's always funny to me. Um, but that's what's on Netflix. So if you like these videos, please like and subscribe. And thanks for watching. Also, too, is I'm sorry that I haven't made every week I usually make what's on Netflix. Sorry, with Christmas coming around and everything, I just, I've been really busy trying to get everything done. Also, too, is I started a computer business, so I'm helping people out in this community to do this computer stuff. So if you want to support my page or anything like that, I highly thank you so much. Also, I have a Facebook group called Classy Nerd Talk. If you're, going around Facebook and you type up Classy Nerd Talk, I will add you as a member, sir. And if you would, share this video as much as you can, because I would really like to do more reviews. Also, too, I'm going to be having a couple people more people on to talk about stuff. If you have something that you want to talk about, and you're one of my closest friends, or you're someone that wants to talk about something, be on camera with, some decent quality sound production stuff, I highly recommend that. But if this is my part 3 of this, but if you haven't watched the other 2, I highly recommend you go back and watch the other 2. And as always, I hope you enjoyed.